Now that is how you respond to losing Game 1. Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and I am here to recap game number 2 between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, game 1 went very poorly for the Leafs, and if they wanted to put themselves in good standing instead of going back to Tampa in a 2-0 hole in this series, they really needed to show up in game number 2, and they needed to start the game on time. That last point being what has killed them time and time again, just not being able to start the game from that first puck drop. There were 10 goals scored in a very chaotic game number 1. And if you thought coming into game number 2 that the goal scoring would be cut down a little bit, you should have instead bet again on the over, because there were 9 goals scored in this one. Now, you and I both know that these two teams can score a lot of goals, but if you had told me coming into this series that there would be 10 goals and 9 goals scored in games 1 and 2 respectively, I really don't know that I would have believed you. Because typically, when you go into the playoffs, the scoring is lower, it is more defensive-minded hockey, and it does get that way as you progress through the playoffs. But there has been a lot happening in the first 2 games of this series, so let's just go ahead and talk about how game number 2 went. So as I had mentioned before, it has been a chronic problem for the Maple Leafs that they cannot start period 1 on time. Well, less than a minute into the first period in game number 2, Mitch Marner draws a tripping penalty, sending Ian Cole to the penalty box. And this is a problem for Tampa because they were missing Victor Hedman and Erik Cernak in game 2. Victor Hedman was already suffering an injury, and we don't really know what has kept him out, but Erik Cernak was on the receiving end of that head hit by Michael Bunting in game number 1, so he was out for this game. So was Bunting. He's been suspended for 3 games, and I'm certainly not here to argue the suspension. He got what he deserved, and that meant that Matthew Knies came into this one making his NHL playoff debut. But anyhow, like I said, less than a minute into this game, Ian Cole goes off for tripping Mitch Marner, and 47 seconds into the first period, Auston Matthews wins the offensive zone faceoff on the power play in the left circle. He wins it back to Morgan Rielly, who passes it over to the right point to Mitch Marner. Mitch catches it in his feet, has to settle the puck down a little bit, but once he does, he takes the shot and he blasts that thing past Andrei Vasilevskiy. 1-0 Leafs on the power play in the first minute of the game. How about that for starting the game on time? And getting that power play goal early really set the tone for the rest of the first period. And then during the first, we had Mark Giordano and Zach Bogosian dropping the gloves. I don't really know why that happened, but it did. Good for them, I guess. That also kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. But then Matthew Knies, in his NHL playoff debut, is sent to the penalty box for hooking. Kind of another weak call, but I'm not going to lay it all on the officials this game. I said enough about that in game number 1, and they really weren't as bad tonight as they were in game 1. So the Leafs to the penalty kill, only up by 1 goal. This could have been a make or break moment in only the first period. And it kind of was, because we all know that Tampa Bay has a great power play. You have Stamkos on one side with a one-timer, you got Nikita Kucherov on the other side with a one-timer. Typically, they would have Victor Hedman at the point, kind of quarterbacking the power play, but of course, he was out for this game. But still, those two guys I mentioned before, Stamkos and Kucherov, they were firing the puck left and right. Justin Holl with a massive shot block on Steven Stamkos. And Ilya Samsonov. After having an absolutely brutal game number 1 in this series, he came up huge on this penalty kill, and he needed it. After Samsonov had had some not very good playoff performances in Washington, and then coming into game number 1 for the Leafs and having an absolutely horrible game, you had to wonder how he was going to play in game number 2. Would that be on his mind? Would he be able to shake it off? And we saw with this penalty kill right here that Samsonov was dialed into this game and he was determined to make it a better start than game 1. And there was really nothing bigger than Nikita Kucherov getting the puck in his spot on the right half wall, faking the shot, and then passing it to Braden Point right in the slot. And Samsonov comes up with a huge stop to keep that puck out of the net. Had Tampa tied the game right there, this game could have gone so much differently. But they didn't, and Toronto killed off that penalty. They then had to kill off another one with Jake McCabe going to the box for hitting Corey Perry in the face, something that happens after most whistles at the net. But it is what it is. Justin Holl again with some massive shot blocks on that penalty kill. And they kept Tampa from scoring, which was huge. And then 12 minutes and 45 seconds into the first period, John Tavares, the captain, wins the faceoff in the offensive zone from the left faceoff dot back to Morgan Rielly. Rielly skates it down the left wall, and when he is about even with the goal line, he sees John Tavares pop out wide open in the slot near those inner hash marks. He sends the puck over to him. Tavares gathers that puck and rips it past Andrei Vasilevskiy glove side. 2-0 Toronto. And this game is going so much better than game number 1. The Leafs are actually getting shots on net in the first period. They are actually getting goals in the first period. And they were mostly controlling the play. And then instead of taking a penalty, Jake McCabe drew a penalty on Steven Stamkos for high sticking. It was going to be a 4-minute double minor. But 15 minutes and 8 seconds into the first period, on the delayed call, William Nylander got the puck in the left circle and rifled that sucker past Andrei Vasilevskiy. 3-0 Maple Leafs. What a shot from Willie. And at this point, all of the big guys are showing up. You have Marner with a goal, John Tavares with a goal, William Nylander with a goal. Morgan Rielly got the primary assist on all 3 of those goals. Auston Matthews assisted on the first and the third goal. So if you have all of the big guys showing up like that, it is going to be a much better night for the Leafs. So up 3-0 with a 12-8 shot advantage is how the Toronto Maple Leafs took this game into the first intermission. On to the second period. And one thing I noticed early on in the first period and then again early in the second period is that in this game, Ilya Samsonov was soaking up a lot more of the pucks. In game number 1, we saw a few too many goals for Tampa come off of rebounds just popping off of Samsonov. So he definitely paid attention to video after game number 1 and tried to fix that going into game number 2, and it was definitely noticeable. He was snagging them with his glove. When it hit him in the body, he was soaking them up. Of course, there were a few rebounds here and there. If they come off the pads, that's just how it's gonna go. But he was doing such a better job of controlling the puck once it hit him. And I think that was a massive difference in this game, along with the skaters in front of him actually controlling play and not just turning the puck over every time they touched it. That certainly made a difference as well. And in the second period, the Leafs were a little bit less dominant than they were in the first, but they were ahead 3-0. So it's not like they had to keep pressing and pressing and pressing like they were trying to get a go-ahead goal or get an insurance goal. But 8 minutes and 58 seconds into the second period, after an absolutely dominant shift by the Maple Leafs in the offensive zone, Tampa was able to get the puck out. Ian Cole had it in the offensive zone. He froze Samsonov with a fake forehand shot. Sammy bit hard on it, and Ian Cole did his best all-star defenseman impression and held on to that puck, switching to the backhand and flipping it into the open net after Ilya Samsonov had just sprawled out, biting on the initial fake. 3-1. Still in favor of Toronto, so not bad. But you can't tell me that you didn't get a little worried there, because I sure did. Especially because after that, the Lightning were gaining more and more momentum and getting more scoring chances, and it just felt inevitable that something bad was going to happen. But 13 minutes and 14 seconds into the second period, Luke Schenn has the puck in the neutral zone. Here comes Willie just skating by, and yoink! He takes that puck from Schenn, skating it into the offensive zone. He dishes it off to Morgan Rielly, skating down the left wing. Rielly sends it on net. Andrei Vasilevskiy makes the initial stop, but it pops right out to John Tavares. Johnny on the spot puts that loose puck into the net. 4-1 Toronto. Oh god, not 4-1. You thought it too, don't lie. But that goal did take away the doom feeling that just felt so imminent once Tampa started gaining momentum. But on the other hand, it also kind of felt cursed because it made it 4-1. But Morgan Rielly with another primary assist. He got the primary assist on all 4 Leafs goals thus far. What a game for Morgan Rielly. And then 15 minutes and 52 seconds into the second period, Sam Lafferty, former Blackhawk, and Zach Aston Reese break the puck into the offensive zone. They battle for it down deep along the boards. Lafferty gets the puck, tries to take it out front. He gets knocked over, but David Kampf, also former Blackhawk, is able to knock the puck on net. Andrei Vasilevskiy makes the stop, but as that line is grinding and crashing the crease, Zach Aston Reese is able to get his stick on it, getting the loose puck past Andrei Vasilevskiy. 5-1 Leafs. And we no longer have to worry about it being 4-1, thank the hockey gods. Apparently the hockey god is named Zach Aston Reese, but I will take it. And then 18 minutes and 2 seconds into the second period, Tampa Bay tries to get the puck out of their defensive zone by ringing it around the boards, but TJ Brodie gets to that puck first. He's able to bump it out to Mitch Marner, and Mitchie just turns around, takes a one-time swing at that puck, and past Andrei Vasilevskiy, it goes 6-1 Leafs! What is happening? This is the team that lost 7-3 to this Tampa Bay Lightning team in game number 1, and suddenly they are up 6-1 at the end of the second period? Where was this team in game 1? Now Tampa is missing Victor Hedman and Eric Chernak for game number 2, but still, they were missing them for parts of game number 1 as well. Is Matthew Knies the key here? He comes into the lineup and suddenly the Leafs just can't stop scoring? I don't care what the key is or who the key is, I just need them to keep the key because something is working and I need it to work for 3 more victories. Please, please, please. They cannot do this to us again. But it's only game 2, and it was only the end of the second period. But the difference could certainly be felt in game number 2, not having Michael Bunting in the lineup, just causing all sorts of unnecessary recklessness. You didn't have to worry if he was gonna go out there and make a boneheaded play to put the Leafs down a man. But 6-1, and with a 30-17 shot advantage is how the Leafs went into the second intermission. On to the third period. And you could certainly tell that the Leafs were up a significant amount because there wasn't a whole lot happening in the beginning of the third. But with 11 minutes and 17 seconds to go in the third period, you have Luke Schenn and Tanner Jeannot dropping the gloves and having a very spirited tilt. It looked like Jeannot was going to get the upper hand in that one, and then out of nowhere, here comes Schenn feeding him some fists. Okay. And then 12 minutes and 38 seconds into the third period, the Lightning break into the offensive zone. Corey Perry gets the puck in front of the net. Ilya Samsonov goes for a 2-pad stack for some reason, but Corey Perry uses his patience and puts the puck past Samsonov 6-2. Still in favor of the Leafs, and by a pretty wide margin there, but why was that the decision that Samsonov went with? You and I will never know. He might not even have known. They're up 6-1 before that went in. Why not try some stuff? Maybe don't do it again because it didn't work, but alas, it's only 6-2. You move on. And then 15 minutes and 6 seconds into the third period, John Tavares gets his third goal of the game, making it the first Toronto Maple Leafs postseason hat trick in 20 years. Now that is some good stuff from the captain. Now, granted, Tavares only got the last touch on it, and Vasilevskiy kicked it in himself, but that almost makes it a little sweeter, doesn't it? Just me? Anyhow, that made it 7-2 in favor of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that is how the game ended. The Toronto Maple Leafs, after having a horrendous game number 1 against the Tampa Bay Lightning, came out in game number 2 starting on time and looking motivated to win and dominating large stretches of play in this one. And you had the big guys show up, which is maybe even the best part of it all. I know on the broadcast they had mentioned that Auston Matthews has been a bit quiet in this series so far, but he has 4 points in 2 games. He just doesn't have a goal yet. The goals will come, but until then you have Mitch Marner scoring, you have John Tavares getting a hat trick, William Nylander, Zach Aston Reese, hockey god, putting up a goal. As long as Matthews is still involved in the plays, which he is with 4 assists through 2 games, the Leafs are okay. He didn't score as many goals in the regular season this year as he did last year, and the Leafs were still one of the top teams in the NHL. So again, as long as he is still involved, and he is, it's okay. And even more okay is the fact that this series is now tied 1-1, and it shifts back to Tampa Bay for Saturday night game 3. It was very easy to be down on the Leafs after game 1 when they didn't look like they wanted to be there at all. But this is the kind of performance we needed to see out of them in game number 2, and that is what they delivered. So now the question has to be asked, what will we get in game 3? Which one of these teams is the real postseason Leafs? And we cannot have both of them, because if they are going to just win every other game, they lost game 1, so that means they would lose this series, and we can't do this again. But they could very well do that to us again. But we are not going to go there right now because we have good feelings coming out of game number 2. Because that was about as dominant of a win as you're going to get. So, Leafs Nation, how are you feeling after game number 2? How do you think game 3 is going to go? Let me know down in the comments. All of that being said, thank you all so very much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. Yes, even the Tampa Bay fans. If you would like to hear more from me or from Center Ice, you can head on over to FromCenterIce.com. There's links to all the places you can find us over there, or if you look down in the description of this video, you will see links to all of our social media pages. You can go ahead and follow us on there. If you aren't subscribed to this channel yet for whatever reason, go ahead and do that now. Give this video a like, that would make me so very happy. But that's going to do it for me in this video. Get some rest, drink some water, get ready for game number 3 on Saturday, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, guys.